Welcome to episode 46 of the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast. I'm Carly Kade, and today I'm speaking with Diane Maccani. Diane was raised on a farm and still lives on one. Horses have been her passion since she was a child. She got her first horse at 9 years old and has never looked back. She's been accused many times of being one-track minded, and that's pretty accurate. Her life has been all about horses. Diane and her husband Bill have 5 children and 9 grandchildren. They've had as many as 21 horses. They are an equestrian family and do boot camps at their farm and show horses together. Diane has been involved in breeding, training, instructing, and showing. Her biggest joy is developing horse and rider pairs. Diane is the author of the What the Cowgirls Do fiction book series, which is based on her in-depth knowledge of horses and the horse show world. Now, let's get into the interview. Welcome to the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast, a podcast featuring interviews with equestrian authors who love all things horses and writing about them. In each episode, you'll hear inspirational stories from horsebook authors, including writing advice and marketing tips to help you write your very own horsebook. If you're an author, aspire to be an author, or simply love horsebooks, then you are in the right place. I'm your host, Carly Kade, and creative writing makes my spurs jingle. Hi everyone, welcome to the Equestrian Author Spotlight Show. I'm Carly Kade, and today I am so excited to have fellow author Diane Maccani on the show with me today. Hi Diane, welcome.
Hi Carly, nice to see you. Welcome to you too, and I'm really excited about this.
I am too. And you are an author after my own heart. You've spent a long time as a judge, a show person, a trainer in the quarter horse world. And that's like my history and my background. So I cannot wait to get to the part where we start talking about your books, because that's what your books are about. So I was really excited to have you on the show today. But the way I always love to start these conversations off is to learn about how your love affair with horses began.
Well, my love affair started many, many years ago. I'm a grandma, as you know, from seeing the notes that I have to send you. So I've been in this business, fun, whatever you want to call it, for a long, long time. But it started when I was a little girl. I don't remember how old I was, but the first time I can remember anything with horses is trail riding with my dad at a stables that was in the little town where we lived. About 4 miles away, there was a trail riding place along the highway. And he took me there because obviously I had been begging to go riding. I obviously liked horses already. So he took me trail riding a few times at that stables. That's what started it all. And I wanted a horse. I was then 10 years old and I wasn't taking no for an answer. So my parents finally decided, yes, Diane can have a horse, but she had to pay for it herself. And this is definitely one of those cases of do as I say, not as I did, because I bought a yearling. I was 10 years old and I bought a yearling grade quarter horse mare. Her sire was a registered quarter horse and she was a sorrel filly. So that was my first horse. She knew nothing. I knew nothing. My parents were not horse people, although my dad did love horses. And that's how I started. This was I'll date myself by telling you, but let me see. If I was 10 years old, this was in 1961. Things were a lot different in the horse world in 1961.
Absolutely. But I think you just described so many young people's stories when they first, get their first horse. It's like a passion. Their parents often don't know or are not horse people. So, when I was like you and young and I got my first horse, I was 10 and my parents didn't know anything about horses and I had to pay for part of her myself. And I got a horse that probably wasn't the best fit for a green new horse owner because she was also green. So I think a lot of the things are the same, and the desire to own a horse kind of like just come with us as horse people. Would you agree?
Yes.
Your whole life has sort of been invented around horses, which is really exciting, and I can't wait to talk about this. You're an author and an instructor and a speaker in the horse field. You've also been a breeder, a trainer, an instructor, a judge, and a showman of quarter horses. So why, Diane, did you decide to design your life around horses, like in your career? Like, why did you go that route? And tell us about your journey.
Well, I guess because I'm one track minded. That's what they tell me I am. I'm just a horse person, and that's as a child I read horse books like crazy, anything I could get my hands on. And I'm a person who reads a book more than once or more than twice. If I like it, I'll go back and read it. And the neat thing is I find something new in it every time. I may know what's happening. My husband teases me, does the ending change? And it doesn't. But a lot of things change because you notice a lot of things a second and third time through that you don't know, you don't catch the first time. Same thing with watching a movie over. So yeah, I just started out with this intense love affair with horses, and it went through my childhood. When we got married, it went through my children, my daughters, not my sons, but my daughters inherited it, and I just kept on going. I should tell you, when I started going out with my husband, and I'm kind of unique in this area, is he's the first guy I ever went out with, and I married him, and we now have been married 48 years, so it's a long time. But the first time he came over to my house, it was the summer after my sophomore year and the summer after his junior year in high school. So I was 16 and he was just about to turn 17. But the first thing I did when I went out in the yard to meet him when he got there is told him, let me take you up the hill to meet my horse. And he said, I've never met a horse before. And I said, well, you are about to. So we went up the hill and we met my horse, whose name was Flick of Mischief. And I have used that on him many times since, because whenever he starts complaining about my horses, I tell him, well, hey, the first time you came to my house, you knew where I was going. That's the first thing I did, was introduce you to my horse, so you can't say you weren't forewarned.
That is so right on. And you warned him. Sounds like he's
Yeah.
very supportive. And 48 years is nothing to sneeze at. That's really magical.
Yeah, he is not a horse person, but he's as involved and intense in what he does, which is hunting, as I am in the horses. And so we understand each other because, we each have something we are very intent on, and, we put a lot of effort into.
Yeah, and you both have a passion that you're pursuing, and that makes for an even richer, more fulfilling relationship when you have, when you each have a passion that you can pursue. Your What the Cowgirls Do series, I love the name of the series. What the Cowgirls Do series includes 13 books. This is so amazing. The characters in the series live in the modern West, and they deal with problems facing those in the ranching and horse industry. 13 books is incredible. Let's talk a little bit about What the Cowgirls Do series and your inspiration for the series.
Okay, well, how it all got started. My daughters were teenagers at the time. One was 13, one was 17. I have 5 kids, boy, girl, boy, and they're all 2 to 2.5 years apart. And the girls are number 2 and number 4 in the lineup. So they were 13 and 17, and they're horse girls too. And they like to read too. But there weren't a lot of good horse books at the time for kids that age. They were a little bit old for the Thoroughbred series, a little bit old for the Saddle Club series, and romance series that have Western backgrounds. A, you don't want some of them reading some of those romance stories at that age. And B, most of the horse stuff in it was bad or at best, faulty. So we had been showing for quite a while already then. And I was out cleaning the barn one morning after they had gone to school. And this happened a lot with me. I got a lot of inspiration cleaning stalls. I thought, we have so many good horse stories that have happened to us when we've been showing. Why don't I sit down and try and write a story for my girls? So that's how I started writing. And it was springtime. And I just sat down in the mornings. My husband would go to work and I'd write for a little while. Then I'd get the kids up for school and I'd write a little while. And then after they'd leave, I'd do my barn work and then I'd write a little while. And so it went. They knew I was writing them a book, but I wouldn't let them read it till it was done. The funny thing is, by the time I got done with the first one, I had an idea for the second one. And that's how it went. I'd finish one and then I'd have an idea for another one. And it went on through number 13. Like I said, I started writing in 94. I don't remember when I first published the first one, maybe, 97, 98, maybe something like that. The number 13 was published in 2009. And then which is 11 years ago already. And then I took a break. And not that I purposely took a break. I did have a number 14 started. In fact, I still haven't started. I think it has 3 chapters. But I just, I couldn't get going on that one. I put it away and I'd start again. And I put it away, I think probably because that's the one I had probably the most developed before I started. I am a right by the seat of my pants author. I come up with a vague idea, get some characters going, and see where it takes me. And a lot of the books, number 3 for one, took me in a totally different direction than I planned on going. Yeah, number 12 for another one, which is related to number 3. I guess maybe that's why I never thought of that. Again, things came in there that I had never dreamed of when I came up with the idea, and it just took me where it was going. The characters told me the story, and I just typed.
I love that. I love that. So I am exactly the same way. I've tried plotting, but I like they're in the author world. There's two types of authors that they talk about. The pantsers, which is
that's us.
We right by the seat of our pants, and we kind of turn our muse over to our characters to tell us what to do. I've also heard it called discovery writing, which kind of sounds a little bit better than being a pantser. And then there's the plotters, right? The people who outline their books and like have the structure and they know how it's going. But it's okay. I mean, however creativity comes to you, that's how you got to run with it, because I've tried plotting and that doesn't work for me. So I'm a better discovery writer. And it sounds like you are the same way.
Yes, that's probably what my problem with book 14 is that was the one I had the most plotted out, and that's the one I never finished. Now I'm writing again. I started about, I don't know, a week or 10 days ago. All of a sudden one day, and I was in the barn again, when I got an idea, I thought, and I've wanted to start writing again, but it just hasn't been there. And that day in the barn, I thought, oh my gosh, I have an idea what to write. And I came in and I started writing, and I'm about half done right now. I mean, the fastest I ever wrote a book before was 6 weeks. Once I started publishing them, I tried to write a book a year, and I'd have them come out just before Christmas, so the people who were buying them could have them for Christmas presents. When I hadn't started book 10, it was the end, like the 3rd week in September. No ideas, nothing. We were out at our camp one day. Bill was hunting and I was sitting in the camp, and I thought of 7 words that became book 10 that I wrote in 6 weeks. And that's the fastest I ever wrote one. This one is probably going to beat it because now as retired people, we have the time. I can sit down and write a lot more than I could when I was raising a family. But so now I'm writing again after 11 years of a dry spell. And it's fun. I'm having a ball with this one. It's still part of the series. A lot of the old characters are showing up, but talk about having writer's block for a long time.
That's great. I'm so happy to hear that the muse is there and ready to write, and that being out in the barn inspires your writing. That happens for a lot of us that are equine authors. And
yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about like your writing process, because writing a book in 6 weeks is really incredible. Writing 13 books is really incredible. Can you share with listeners, like, how long is an average book for you? And then do you have a special time to write, or how is your day structured so you can get a book done that quickly?
Well, like I said, when my kids were in school, they had to get up. They were supposed to get up by 6 o'clock. Some of the boys got up at 10 to 7 and the bus came at 7. But so I'd have a little time to write after he left for work, and I would. Then I get them up, get them out on their way, do my barn work, and then I come in and usually write a little bit in the morning. But then, of course, you have to do housework. You have to do more, if I was riding at the time, horses that needed riding, I had to do that. And so then I usually try and write again a little bit in the evening, but with a family around, that didn't always happen. By the time they were older and in high school or in college, I could usually write in the evening. But when they were younger, not too much. Now, like I said, now it's easy because I just don't do it. I mean, there's nobody here but my husband and me and the dogs. And so I have a whole lot more time to write. And but that's how I fit it in. And that's, it, like I said, about a year for most books, depending what time I start, when I started it. But that's where I fit it in.
That's really great. Well, you made time for it, because a lot of authors have the conversation, gosh, where do I fit this in? I don't have enough time. And you do exactly what you had to do to squeeze it in here and squeeze it in there and,
Yes.
still keep up with life and your responsibilities, but you made it a priority. You made time to be creative, which is
Yes.
awesome. And then how long generally are each one of your books in your series?
I went back and looked. Book one is just over 61,000 words.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, book six, which is my favorite, is 76,000, over 76,000 words. Book 13 is the longest. It is almost 90,000 words.
Okay, these are full-on novels. That's what I was wondering. Are they, were they a little bit shorter? But these are big books. So
Yeah.
writing them quickly, that's impressive. And I wanted to talk a little bit about your covers too, because as a horse girl and as a Western pleasure lover and as a quarter horse, lover from being a little cowgirl, your covers really speak to me. I saw one that had showmanship on it. I saw one that had the silhouette of a Western pleasure horse, which immediately attracted me. So will you talk a little bit about what inspired your covers and perhaps hold up the few that you have a bunch of ebooks on? You have a bunch of ebooks too, but you have some paperbacks there with you. So could you hold up a couple of the covers and talk about the inspiration behind your covers?
Okay. First, I'll tell you about my publishing and my covers because they go together.
Oh, great.
I publish my own books. I'm a self-published author, but not like the kind of self-published author that uses a vanity press or a print on demand for their paperbacks. I literally did them myself. Not only do I write by the seat of my pants, I market by the seat of my pants. Like I said, 5 kids. They were in high school, then in college. My husband told me I can write all I want. He didn't have a problem with it, but we couldn't spend a lot of money on it. Well, when I started writing in those days, there wasn't on-demand publishing that I was aware of, and the vanity presses made you print so many books at a time. And by that time, I probably had 8 or 9. I knew if I started one, publishing one, I'd want to publish the whole series. And now we're talking, big bucks. And like I said, we had kids in college, one right after another every 2 years. So I decided I was going to see about doing it myself. Well, my sister owned a little regional horse magazine that she published. So she had some better printers technology than I did. So she said she would print the bodies for me if I'd sent them over to her. So she did. So for many years, she printed my bodies. I designed the covers and she printed them. And then at the time, my son, who was playing high school hockey in a city about 110 miles from here, I found a little publishing company that would bind them for me because that was the biggest thing. And he said he would be happy to do it, and in whatever runs I wanted. If I wanted to print 10 books, or if I wanted to print 100 books, or if I wanted to print 25 books, he would do it. The price would be accordingly, but it was a price I could afford that I could then charge and sell my books. That's how I started. So I had to design my own covers, probably mid to late 90s. Technology wasn't so great yet. So what I started with was just plain covers with a border with silhouette horses on it pertaining to what the story was about. Like the first one had a guy and a girl riding across the page on what looked like him on a ranch horse, her on a Western pleasure type horse. The second one, this is a second version of it, but it's pretty much like the first version was. This one is the ride of my life. Andy in this book is riding for the all-around youth title in the quarter horse industry. And so these are silhouette horses of all the events that she competed in.
That's a beautiful That's a beautiful cover. That completely speaks to me. I saw a reiner on there, a jumper, an English, like hunt seat, Western pleasure.
Yeah.
There's a horse squared up, like showmanship. I mean, your audience. You designed your cover, you were resourceful. I mean, this is the coolest thing about your conversation. Even before print on demand was available, you found a way to make your author dream happen. So there's always a way to do this and not spend $1 million, right?
Yes.
And you have a product right there that totally speaks to your audience. So very, very cool. All right, back to the cover. Show me more.
Okay. So then number 3, this is the only original cover I have left because I've done, several runs of my books. And so this is the original cover of 3. And this has the cowboy who is a main character in this book. And then it has the lady who is doing trail in this picture. And so that was my first cover of book 3. Now this is the cover, e-cover, and this is the one you were talking about. These e-covers I just printed out this morning from what I have, but
Yeah.
this is the showmanship one. And I decided when I started publishing them as ebooks that I was going to change the covers. My covers stuck all the way through with the silhouettes. This is my second run of the first book, which just had, was plain with just the 2 riders. Now it has a background. Technology has improved, and I could put colored pictures in the background.
Yeah, but
So
you did such a great job, though. Like, that doesn't even really look like you worked, kind of outside the standard publishing industry at the time to make a book that resonates with your readers. So, like, you really did a great job with
well,
the resources you
well,
had.
thank you.
Yeah.
I've been a fairly creative person in my whole life, and this was fun for me. Again, I write because it's fun for me. I design my covers because it's fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to my ebooks, I decided I wanted to change the covers. So I picked pictures that would match the story, a lot of which so far I have taken myself. But I kind of wanted a guy and a girl because of my first love. So I had a friend who had a picture like that, another friend who is now a really, really good equine photographer. She sold me the picture that had the guy and the girl walking with the horse. But we had a little problem. It was in color, and it's a really nice picture, but her horse is an Appaloosa. Now, nothing against Appaloosas, but the lady in the book is showing quarter horses. She can't have an Appaloosa on the cover. So Lisa, who took the picture, told me that she could edit it out and make it look like a roan, which was great because in the end of the book, the main character is riding a roan at a futurity show. So that was fantastic. I really liked the picture. So that's how my first cover came.
And it's a very romantic picture too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
for women growing up showing in that that space, like watching the handsome horse trainer walk away with the horse, that just captures that so perfectly right there.
And the cute story about that is the 2 people in the story are getting married. I contacted her and she said, could they have a copy of it, that, she wants that at her wedding, as, to be there with all the other stuff that she has there. So yeah, she will have a picture of the cover of the book.
Oh, cool.
At her wedding ceremony. And I have warned my friends, my horse acquaintances, all their lives since I've been writing, you never know when you're going to turn up in my books. And now I can say you never know when you're going to turn up on a cover.
What I'm hearing is that you are going through the process right now of taking your print books, which you've had for a very long time, and getting the whole series available on Amazon. Is that what you're currently working on right now?
Yes. I started that a year ago in January. I got the first ones out. I just now did 4, and I will continue on. I'm trying to do it 1 a month until I get caught up through 13, and by then 14 should be done. But that's how I decided. That I started on the ebooks when I realized that there was technology out there that I could handle, because I'm a grandma. I'm kind of technology challenged, to say the least. I had to go to my grandson and my granddaughter to get a microphone and earphones to do this. But yeah, so I decided I would publish them as ebooks and see if I could get them out to a wider audience than I have been. Like I said, I've done well enough, but I'd like to do better.
Yeah, and a few things about that. Like, one, you are amazing. Like, you are embracing technology. Look at what you're doing. You're getting your physical books into Amazon so you can reach more readers with your ebooks. You're getting involved in a passion project that makes you feel alive, working with your books and recreating the series, and then reaching people with your words. So I give you a super high five for embracing this and being on the show with me today, because I know technology can be scary for the older generation because it's new and there's so much to learn, but you're like getting help and you're out there and you're doing it. And I'm like so impressed. And I think that's really great.
Well, thank you.
You're in the process of perhaps reaching an entire new audience of readers because you're putting your books on the Amazon platform. So what what are some of the ways you're looking at, or how have you reached readers in the past, and then how are you looking at perhaps reaching new readers now that you have your books in a digital format?
The biggest thing that gave me the biggest boost in getting book sales, in the marketing end of it, was having an article in America's Horse,
Mm.
which is no more as of just recently. But America's Horse went out to, and you didn't have to subscribe to it. America's Horse was any AQHA member got it. So it had a big readership. So I wrote to them and asked them, told them my story about how I wrote these books, and they were about quarter horse showing. Would they be interested in I asked them if they'd be interested in doing an article on me, and they said yes. So I gave them the particulars. They wrote up the article. I gave them some pictures, and I was in the magazine, and that did a lot in sales. Other than that, it's been word of mouth. When Facebook came out, some Facebook work. So I do it for the love of doing it. And, I sell what I sell. But I'm hoping to get a bigger readership now that they're on Amazon and as an ebook. And, things like doing this with you will help.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that. And,
Yes.
working with equestrian publications, I mean, you have to know how to work with the media. And obviously you do, because you told them a story, you shared with them why your story would be important, and you got that coverage. So there are ways, and you're doing it already, to market your books without having to spend a lot of money. It's very, very possible to do. Congratulations. So I always like to ask these questions too. And you've been doing this for a long while. You've been writing books for a long while. So for you, what has been the hardest part about being an author, besides, not being able to spend a whole lot of money on your passion, right? But what has been the hardest part about being an author? And then on the flip side, what's been the very best part for you about your author career?
The best part is hearing from people who appreciate my books. Write more, write more. Oh, I read your book. Can you write some more? Or, keep on, that type of thing. The other thing is I've been able to hit an audience that's kind of broad sweeping. I started writing these books for my teenage daughters, and I figured, they would be older teenage girls is what I marketed them to. But I found out that women read them probably more than older teenage girls. Teenagers, they get to that age and they don't have time for reading and blah, blah, blah. So, but a lot of women started reading them and liked them. And I probably have more women readers than I do teenage girl readers right now. The other thing is guys. I had a cowboy friend from Utah who bought the whole series and loved them. He'd write to me all the time, call me all the time. I know him personally, and say, how much fun they are. So guys read them. I always kind of said they were from girls maybe like 13 years old and on up, through women. So I've hit a broad range of audience with these books. And, that's been really nice to know, because that's kind of, they're about life. They're about life with horses, life on a ranch. And there's all ages, even grandmas. And it's been really rewarding to know that a lot of ages enjoy my books.
Well, that's awesome feedback. So lots of good going on. Definitely. So, and then like on the flip side of that, what has been the most difficult part about your author journey?
Probably just the marketing part. You have to market if you're going to sell books, but I'd rather write. I'd rather design covers. Marketing is, that's mundane stuff that you have to do, but I'd rather do the other stuff.
You're not alone. That happens to everybody. I think that is probably one of the most common responses I get to that question, is that the authors just want to write. They don't want to do the marketing. So, and there's people out there that can help you with that and get it off your plate. So, but yeah, it is part of the package of being an author. The only way people are going to find out about your books is if you're sharing about your books with everybody, and that is marketing. But and word of mouth always helps spread books, so don't discount word of mouth. I was wondering, since you've been doing this successfully for so long and you have so many books written, what advice would you give to an aspiring author who wants to write about horses? Like, what would you tell that person?
I go with the age-old theory that someone told me a long time ago, and that's write what you know about. That's what I did. I wrote what I know about. Our whole life is in these books, and that's what I wrote about. I wrote about our life. The things that happen in these books are things that happen to us. The second book is especially like that, because it's a book basically about her year trying to win this all around title. And so they're at shows practically every weekend. And the things that happen at these shows happen to us. The sleepwalking incident in the motel. That's a famous one we always like to talk about. Some of the Congress incidents that we had when we were at Congress. It's, they all show up in the book, and it was easy to write about because it's stuff I lived through, and with my girls. So yeah, write what you know about. That's why I could never be a fantasy writer. I know fantasy and sci-fi is huge right now, and it's not my genre. It's not something I enjoy reading, and I could never write it because I have an imagination for horse books, but I don't have an imagination like that. I have to write about what I know about, what I lived about.
That's great. And listening to you talk about some of those moments from your daughter showing life and Congress and all those things kind of gives me goosebumps, because like I can remember doing that too as a young woman, and that's so great that you're capturing that, because what a testament it is for your family, but then also a gift to other people to experience that world, and then writing very specifically for people who do what we do. I mean, that's just fabulous. Thank you for doing that. So, what I'm really interested to know is, I know you're working on the next book in this series. So soon there will be 14, and you've got more ideas brewing all the time, and you're galloping towards more in the series. But what are you curious about right now? What are you up to? What are you thinking? What's next?
I just hope when I get done with 14, I don't have a dry spell again. And I actually have a couple of vague ideas where I could go after this. So we'll see if I keep on writing, especially like I said, because this one is just rolling off the pages. And I've kind of entered a different phase in my life. The early books are all about, the show life and what we did when we were showing. And then during the break, things changed because my girls grew up. They now have kids of their own. And now my granddaughters are riding and they're friends. And I don't give lessons anymore. So I got my amateur card back. I showed a little bit, but not much, because I realized a long time ago that I have more fun being on the sidelines, watching my daughter show, watching my granddaughter show. And that is basically what the 14th book is about now.
Oh,
I
cool.
use a lot of the old characters. I have a lot of new characters. But yeah, so that's where my life is changing. That's where my curiosity is going. That's where things are headed.
Very cool. I love that. I am so excited about your book series, and that you're getting all of them up there and flowing through Amazon, so you can reach even more readers. And that I love the topic you're writing about. This is like my world that you're describing here. It's been so exciting to talk to you. So, Diane, can you tell me where people can find you and your books?
The best place to find me is on Facebook. I have my own personal Facebook page where I post all my writing stuff, which is my name, Diane Marie Maccani. And I also have my Tamarack Farm Publishing Facebook page. That's what I called my publishing company when I was doing my softcover books myself, Tamarack Farm Publishing. So I have that Facebook page where there's probably some, even more in-depth stuff than on my private page. Other than that, emailing me, my email address is on them. So that's another way to get a hold of me.
Great. And so if people want to get paperback versions of your book, the best way to get a hold of you right now is to email you about wanting the books. Is that right?
Email me or Facebook me about wanting them.
That's great. And then the digital copies, you're slowly loading them all onto Amazon, so they will be there as well.
Yes.
And so if you're having an easy time putting the digital up onto Amazon, the print on demand, having a print book available is pretty much just as simple.
Okay.
But we could maybe follow up and have a conversation if you want to explore what that's like a little bit more. So, but I'm really excited for you that you are taking this on and getting your books out there and getting this wider distribution. I mean, you can reach so many more readers, but I love that you were determined to do it. You did it yourself first. You found a way to make it happen before any of this independent, publishing technology was available. You did this first. You were like a pioneer here. And now
we have always said, my girls and I, that there's a lot of things that we've been ahead of times with. And I guess maybe doing this myself because there was no print on demand, that's one of them. And I talk about a few of them in my book 5, which happens to be my life growing up. I
Yeah.
wrote book 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I have tons of good stories from my childhood, but they don't really fit in really well with my modern era horse people. So I have to come up with a way to use them. So I came up with a flashback book. But that book 5 is my childhood growing up, and it's a flashback. Every chapter starts out with a group of horse friends who were my friends as kids at a reunion. And then they flash back to all the things they did growing up with the horses. And so that's what that one is about, and that's where that comes in. And that I want to mention, just because it's kind of unique, is we had a junior high English teacher who was a fiend. Oh my gosh, everybody hated her because she was so hard. We had to diagram sentences and we had to conjugate verbs, and it was hard and it was miserable and it was icky. And today I am so glad that I had that lady for 7th, 8th, and 9th grade English, because she taught me how to write. She taught me sentence structure. I read books and, misplaced modifiers and dangling things. And yes, when you're writing, not everything is a complete sentence, because I write like I think. And so there are phrases here and there, but I know sentence structure and all that because of Miss Lawrence in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And I got to say thank you to her, because it has made editing a breeze. It has made writing a breeze, because you kind of get it halfway right in the first place, and then editing is that much easier. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because we hated her then and I love her now.
That's funny. Appreciate your teachers and pay attention in English class, right? So
yes,
that's
especially
so great.
if you plan on writing.
Yes. So, what if only we knew then what we know now, right? That's kind of like how it
Yes.
always goes. But
Yes.
but Diane, you have been so fun to speak with today. I've so enjoyed having you on the show. I wish you tons of success with the next steps in your author career, and keep writing those books, and I can't wait to see how your adventure goes. And
Well,
thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This has been really a lot of fun.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast. I hope you enjoy these Q&A sessions with wonderful equine authors who love all things horses and writing, just like me. Visit my website, carlycadecreative.com, where you can read the show notes, and make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you so much for your support. Want a free guide to secrets of horsebook authors? Gallop over to carlycadecreative.com/wisdom to have author advice delivered instantly to your inbox. If you are an author who writes about horses and would like to be spotlighted, please let me know. Visit my contact page at carlycadecreative.com to fill out a request. I'd be happy to have you on the show too. Thank you for tuning in to the Equestrian Author Spotlight podcast. See you next time. I'm your host, Carly Kade. Creative writing makes my spurs jingle.